Good afternoon. Pull up the door for me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Institute of Jamaica. My name is Herbie Miller, and I will be leading you through the proceedings today. But before we do anything, let me invite you to stand for the playing of the national anthems of Jamaica and Sierra Leone. You may be seated. It's good to see us all turning out for this family reunion. Sierra Leone, Jamaica, reconnecting in a family way as we are doing today. The great Keith Hudson, made a very powerful recording in the 1970s, and he titled it, "Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood." And I thought it would be appropriate to lift that title as we come together to reconnect Jamaica and Sierra Leone in a real human way. The long ties between both our countries is something I won't even get into now. The audience gathered here, I am pretty sure, has at least some idea of what that is. I'll just quickly say, from West and Central Africa to plantations in Jamaica, following the Second Maroon War to Nova Scotia, Canada, before ended up in Sierra Leone. Many, after a couple of decades, only to return to Jamaica following emancipation as indentured workers. All in between our presenters today will fill in. But let me take this opportunity to welcome our guests from Sierra Leone. Honorable Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, Dr. Mamuta. Please, I will apologize if I don't get it right. Pratt, Minister Pratt, welcome. His Excellency Sadiq Y, Sierra Leone Ambassador to the United States with additional accreditation to 8 countries in the Western Hemisphere. Mr. Ambassador. Melvin George Hamilton, Sierra Leone's Consul General in Miami, Florida, USA. Mohammed Jalla, Director of Tourism. Fatima Karu, General Manager, Sierra Leone Tourist Board. Ibrahim Fafana, Cultural Attaché, Sierra Leone Embassy, Washington, D.C. Mohamed Kosi, Trade and Investment Liaison, Sierra Leone Embassy, Washington, D.C. Niamatule Ai, De Gracio, Sierra Leone fashion designer and chef, and quite a chef, I might add. Her fashion creations will be on parade later on. One of the things that happened to us as we ended up in this area is that, as one song said, they robbed our language, but they couldn't kill our culture. So yes, the language sometimes is a little challenging if we are not accustomed to it on a regular basis. And so Ambimbola, or Gunbanjo, the banjo part I think I nailed, former group chairman of Nigeria stock market. Are you here, sir? He's on his way. Dr. Kai Dale, international public affairs strategist. Did I say something? On her way. On her way. Dr. H. Patton, artistic director, Kuramanti Arts. Is the Ethiopian, is Miss Judith Hilton in as yet? We'll acknowledge her when she gets here. And our Honorable Minister Grange, I gather, is on her way as well. I hope I have not missed anyone from the delegation. DJ Omo, also known as MDG. Two different persons? I see it here as AKA. So DJ Amo, she is the lady who's going to spin the discs. And MDG, he's the singer man. Are you both around? And our own newly appointed leader at the Institute of Jamaica, Mr. Leslie Harrow. Thanks for being here, sir. Again, welcome, and I'll just get things started by asking Mr. Harrow to do the welcome. I'm sorry. This is 0180KK. Your car is blocking someone. If you could assist by removing it, please. 0180KK. I'm sorry? I can only tell you what is here. I haven't a clue. What kind of car is it? Okay, so following the program, our first up will be the Executive Director of the Institute of Jamaica, Leslie Harrow.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Moderator, the great Herbie Miller. I want to just extend my welcome to the delegation from Sierra Leone. I want to acknowledge as well Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Honorary Consul for the Republic of Sierra Leone in Jamaica. I want to acknowledge our former Governor General, Sir Kenneth Hall. And in doing so, I want to acknowledge all of you present here this afternoon at the Institute of Jamaica. I want to say thank you to my team of hardworking individuals who continue to assist in the work of the Institute. I must also tell you that Herbie Miller is considered one of the hard-working members of our team. It is even said that if you need connection, you check Herbie. If it means money, you check Herbie. I am yet to prove on the money side. But pardon me, I will be conversing with him. And the fact that our former Governor General is here as well, monies can be earned from far. And so, the Institute of Jamaica is a special place for all of us. And we're happy that you have decided to join us here. So let us welcome you for an exciting and engaging Jamaica-Sierra Leone family reunion celebration. We call it a celebration because our history tells us that we are one, but we have been divided only because of geographical space. Our minds and hearts are together, and it remains together. It is fitting that as we as a nation celebrate Reggae Month, the Institute continues to encourage the development of literature, science, and arts for the preservation of our cultural legacy. As we ignite a nation for greatness, we must never forget the importance of our ancestors' struggle for freedom that we now have. Our African heritage is grounded in a philosophy of oneness. So therefore, it was a great sense of pride that we as a people, through this very Institute of Jamaica, persistently explore opportunities to promote our cultural heritage. And it is one of the reasons why we are here together from the Republic of Sierra Leone. In light of the changing dynamics and the need for expanding cultural awareness, we take pride in revisiting a number of things that we do. And we take pride in recognizing our connectivity as one. We must embrace our past, and therefore, we should now reconnect, as our past is a determination of how we navigate the future. We will never forget the words of one of our national hero, and I repeated it recently, the Right Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And it is quite fitting that we do it today as we are talking about connection and reconnecting. And he posited that a people without knowledge of their history, origin, quite fitting here, and culture is like a tree without roots. Jamaica and Sierra Leone connection is a tree with its roots. As we reconnect, for a purpose of oneness, we must all show respect to our ancestors for their relentless effort and fight. And therefore, we must intensify our resolve for greatness as one nation working together. And we say oneness is a connection that we have, and we welcome you here, and we look forward to celebrating with you and bonding with you as we engage ourselves and our purpose in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrow. I think I should be following next with an opening remark. I think in the interest of time, I'll only say that my apologies to Professor Hamilton that I overlooked acknowledging you earlier on. And just before I invite you up here, to basically say that once Professor Hamilton indicated to me that this delegation was coming, we both immediately agreed that we had to do this, what we are doing today, bring a cultural aspect to it, to the whole proceedings, and use it as a way to educate, remind, and get back in touch with what the Jamaica-Sierra Leone connection is all about. And that will unfold today, and I'll use that as my brief remarks. Professor Hamilton.
Thank you so much. Please give Herbie Miller a big round of applause. How are you all doing? Doing good? All protocols observed. Minister, it is truly, truly a pleasure to welcome you here to Jamaica. I've brought together all the friends, family, partners, everybody to make this a very special occasion. And why are we doing this? We're doing this because Africa is our motherland. That's our home. That's our roots. And so your week here with us in Jamaica means a lot to many of us who are not here, many of us who are online. People have been saying to me in all different ways, how can we get involved? Let me just say very briefly that the Honorary Council for the Republic of Sierra Leone here in Jamaica is here to be that bridge. I wanted to use the perspective, a historical perspective of what has happened. We had the visionary in our national hero, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, who pointed us to the motherland and remind us about who we are as a people. We had the voice of the people through the voice of Bob Marley and our musicians, reminding us of who we are and the dignity and pride of what it means to be African. We now have to connect those dots. They began to open the path. We now have the technology to make that relationship real. So beyond consular services that will be delivered through the honorary consulate, if you want to go to Sierra Leone, visa arrangements for Sierra Leoneans who are here in Jamaica, if they have difficulties, some of you may know of the difficulty that at least 2 Sierra Leoneans had in Jamaica, and we provided assistance to get them back to Jamaica, to Sierra Leone. So in addition to those typical consular services, we're going to do trade and investment. And we're serious about ensuring that we do not just South-South trade, but trading with Africa. Africa has taken a major step to have created a 6th union in their arrangements to unite Africa. And in that arrangement, it includes all of us here in the diaspora. And so in that context, as they pursue a vision of a 2063 vision, it includes trade, connecting 54 countries in Africa, creating the largest market in the world, 1.4 billion people. Sierra Leone is part of a Mana River Union that is being developed. 40 million people if you go to Sierra Leone. And if you go to Sierra Leone, you're part of ECOWAS. That's 400 million, including Nigeria and so on. So that's a market. So we can begin to visualize that bridge from Jamaica to Africa via Sierra Leone. You'll hear today about the tremendous historical collections and cultural connections that we have. But I want to say none of this is possible without, first of all, the government of Sierra Leone, represented here by Minister Pratt. Please give her a good Jamaican Bunononos welcome. Their visionary leader, High Commissioner Sadiki Abubakar Y, who really started this all. I say him set me up because when he asked me to do this, I had no idea what it would entail. But I saw the vision. And you're looking at a Pan-Africanist who really has a great vision for all of us. Please give him a Jamaican Bonononos round of applause. And none of that is possible without the partnerships and networks. And sitting beside him is one of his chief advisors, a colleague, Dr. Judy Kuryansky. She's at Columbia University Teachers College, and she has ably provided the kind of support that a dynamic ambassador needs to get things done. Please. And his entire Sierra Leonean team, I'm going to ask you all to stand up and be, so that all of us can see who we are. All of the team who came from Sierra Leone doing a number of amazing work. That's Kosi in the back. Kosi is part of a dream team that made it possible. Members of the dream team, if you're here, please stand up. There are friends, family, sisters, friends, a whole network. They made it possible. And I'm going to say, they don't know it yet, by extension, the functioning of the consulate is in their hands. They did an amazing work to have done it, including my Sierra Leonean sisters who are here, Bettina and Your last name. Macaulay. Macaulay has such a reputation here in Jamaica. Margaret Macaulay, a good friend of ours, and so on. There's a huge network. And I want to say that that network includes the government. I've gotten tremendous support from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Minister of Culture, that's why we're here, the Minister of Tourism has forged alliances, and the Minister of Industry and Commerce is doing this. I could go on, but that's supposed to be brief, and I didn't want to be that long. But just to say, we're going to make it happen. Right? Africa must rise, all of us must work in dignity, and the future of the world is in the hands of more than 70% of Africa who are young people. So together, I think we'll create magic. Thank you all so very much.
I think we all agree that the Sierra Leoneans could not have made a better choice than Professor Rosalie Hamilton. I'm sure all of us here also know how multidisciplinary she is, her passion for everything that she does, the advocacy network. Now we see her in a whole new way as representing Sierra Leone here, and you already see the passion that she exhibits. Well, our Minister of Culture, you know, government duty is something that you can't predict how long it will take before they get out of those committees and stuff. So she's still not here. And as soon as Minister Grange gets here, that the first opportunity we'll allow her to say something. But in the meantime, we do have another Minister of Culture here, and in the person of Minister Dr. Memunato. You see, in Little Children's School, they teach you how to break it up in syllables. Welcome, Dr. Memunato, and I now invite you to say your piece. Please give her a rousing applause. She's an academic. She's a lady who gets around. Oh, definitely. It's all yours now.
Good afternoon to everyone here. Let me take this opportunity to firstly thank the Institute of Jamaican Studies for allowing our dear honorary consul to put this program together in your institution. We thank you very much, and it gives us the kind of feeling that we are looking for, so that we build this bridge together. Let me stand on existing protocols. Of course, everybody here has been recognized, but particularly so to let you know that indeed we are so excited. We are so immersed in what is happening. And indeed, I should say we should thank God for a day like this. Because I am not sure any of you who could have recalled that we can have this kind of gathering in Jamaica at this time. But as the particular title goes, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. This has got very, very deep in thinking. I was reflecting on this and then saying that why haven't we, over the years, been able to come together like this? But we cannot explain that. We don't have any reason to give justification for that. It's just by design or by nature that it has to go that way. Now you have one of your biggest teachers, and that is Bob Marley. You know, as I was sitting there, I was thinking about a song which he sang, Redemption Song. Yes. That is a very strong prophetic message. Thinking about what we are, emancipation from slavery, knowing that all of us are one, and that we should all be able to work together. I think that song says a lot in terms of what is happening today. Going to your roots is very important. You need to go to your roots. You know why? Because sometimes you have an identity that society has given to you, but you don't know what you are made up of. And that goes a long way in terms of determining how you're going to contribute greatly, how you're going to live very well with people, how you're going to build partnerships. Because one of the problems which you've had as Africans is that many of those in diaspora do not know what they are made up of. Yes, because by design, as a result of maybe slave trade, colonialism, repatriation, movement of people 300-400 years ago, we just appeared somewhere. And we were all, we say, acculturated into what we are made to believe that this is what we are. It's true acculturation. But we have not been able to see what we are made up of. And that is very, very deep. So today, there are lots of programs going on in Africa, but especially in Ghana and Sierra Leone, wherein people are tracing their DNAs to know, who are my family? Where do I come from? Where is my home? So we have lots of people today coming from the United States of America. And then, of course, we started having people from Trinidad and Tobago, African Caribbean as well, doing the DNA testing and proving that they are indeed from West Africa. And I think that's a very, very important message I'd like to leave with you. That, yes, going forward, I think we need to think deep about that. Now, what we do what we call root tourism. We work with international organizations in the US that is recognized by the government of Sierra Leone as a credible institution for the testing of DNA. It's called Ancestry.com. There's another one, 23andMe. So once you do that, and they trace your lineage to Sierra Leone, of course, they come on these pilgrimages. They come in droves, 300, 200, over the past 3 years. And then when they come, we welcome them. We take them to their ancestral places. They are given local names. The DNA gives them the tribe they come from. And of course, and then we take them to Bones Island. Bones Island is the place where Africans were shipped from to the Americas during the slave trade. Bones Island and the Gold Coast, Ghana. Those were the two main points, and then, of course, Gorée Island. But invariably for United States and United Kingdom, it was Bones Island. You want to say something? Oh, okay. It was Bones Island, and then, of course, Elmina Castle and Cape Coast. If you go to Sierra Leone, we'll take you to Bones Island. It's sitting on an island. We have restored that with support from the government of Sierra Leone and the United States government. And people go there, and then they have all of these reminiscences. They take them through the path which our ancestors went through before they were taken to those dungeons and put on those ships and shipped to the United States, to the New World, and some of them in the United Kingdom. And many died on the way. Thousands of them died on the way. And as such, the very strong ones survived. The very strong ones survived, and we are taken to these plantations. And in those plantations, of course, they were there with so many difficult times. But then after the abolition itself, a number of them, some were repatriated, like the Maroons, the Nova Scotians, some came to Jamaica, and others stayed in other places. Charleston, they're all over the place. So this is the story. So this event, for me, is very crucial as to why we are here. Opening of the honorary consulate is actually dealing with the aesthetic side. But this one is really what we are looking out for. We want to see Jamaicans go back to their roots, come to Sierra Leone, do the trips, test your DNA. And of course, once we start the exchange, it's going to be very, very interesting. We have started a program led by Trinidad and Tobago. We had the first set last year. They were there. We took them through the same process. And at the end, we had the first African Caribbean Festival. If you go on our website, you will see everything. And it's now becoming an annual event. So that is something you need to key into as well, because it's for the Caribbean. So my message is simple, yes. We have found ourselves where we are. Maybe I don't even know what my own will be. We have found ourselves where we are, but we have to make sure that we connect. We have a generation to protect. We have a legacy to keep. We have a heritage to restore. And then, of course, we also have to ensure that we are what we are. We are what we are. And we should not be what we are not. Yes, there is education, there is everything. But culture is very important. Culture is the most important. Culture is the most important. Not only the message, the blood to blood, the flesh to flesh, the food. That is the most important connection we are looking for. So I want to say that it's a new dawn. So much things have gone on in the past, but now we are rewriting the history again so that we do not die and leave our children not knowing where they come from. Yes, we have to get them to continue this generation. And no matter what we say, we are all Africans. You can be African American, you can be African Caribbean, you can be African Arab, you can be whatever. But Africa are Africans. And we have to keep this together. Now, building on this is about, we can do many things. Investment, trade, social development, aviation, because we are now talking about aviation. Because Sierra Leone to Jamaica used to have the shortest haul. It's about 7 hours by flight, direct. Maybe we are talking about all of that now. So it makes it very easy because we know traveling is a problem. So we want to leave you with these words that reflect, reminisce, think deep and harder, and do your best, and make sure we build on this relationship and support the honorary consulate, support the ambassador. We are there for you. We can do so many things together. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Minister. Each time I listen to her speak, it is so much of an inspirational one that I think my next trip to the continent will be to Sierra Leone. You know, Minister spoke about Elmina, Goree Island, Cape Coast, and so on, points from which our ancestors exited through what they call the door of no return. For those of us lucky enough, privileged to have returned, it's all right. For some, it's a castle of their ancestors. For others, it's a dungeon. And when you step into some of those places, just they build up over the centuries of blood, sweat, tears, and everything else that those gathered there, left there. The very odor, not that it is unbearable, but it reminds us, like when Burning Spear says, do you remember the days of slavery? You didn't have to be born then. It's just in us. And we will never forget it, despite those who say, get over it. No. Anyway. As I said earlier on, when Minister Grange gets here, we'll yield to her and allow her to bring her message. At this point, we'll go to the next chapter of this evening's program, The Journey. Transatlantic migration, Africa, Jamaica, Nova Scotia, Sierra Leone, and back to Jamaica. My dear friend, colleague, brethren, Professor Clinton Hutton. Will take us on that journey. Clinton.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. All protocol observed. The trafficking of Africans began in the early 1500s and continued into the 1800s. That is from the 16th century until the 19th century. Over this period, some 12 to 18 million Africans were brought by force to the Americas. The wars, as well as the kidnapping campaigns that were initiated to capture Africans for this trade in human beings caused the death of 4 to to 6 million Africans, while another 3 to 6 million died across the Atlantic Ocean. We are not able to deal here in any detail with floating vessels, floating tombs of layers of months, of weeks, of unbearable stench, of layers of rotting bodies, feces, urine, blood, vomit, the dying. That is how those 12 to 18 million reach across the Americas. One eyewitness on a slave ship, a slaver, tells us that the captain of that ship, to strike fear into the rest, quote, killed a slave and dividing heart, liver, and entrails into 300 pieces, made each of the slaves eat one, threatening those who refused with the same torture. And this eyewitness on that ship, a European as well, then said, such incidents were not rare. And then you might know about the Zong on the trip over to Jamaica, 1781. Left Ghana with 442 passengers, victims. On board. The ship carried twice the number it was built for. The owners claimed that due to navigational problems, the ship took longer to reach its destination. And so it ran out of water. And they had to throw 130 live Africans overboard before it reached Black River in St. Elizabeth, where they had a huge market in Africans. And they filed for insurance for these 130 persons. And the insurance company did some investigation and found out that there was water on board, that it rained a lot, and that there was no excuse not to give them the insurance. And that was a big case, a global case, still being written about, still being talked about. Over 1 million Africans were brought to Jamaica, the biggest in the English-speaking Caribbean. over 1 million. In fact, 1,000,000 and about 300,000. And at the end of slavery, in 1838, the black population of Jamaica was 300,000. The population of Africans was unable to reproduce itself because of slavery. The average lifespan of a person taken from Africa here was 7 years. Among the people taken across from Africa to the Americas were the Mande people from Sierra Leone. And certainly celebrated for the culture that they left and continued in what we call the Gullah people in the southern United States, some islands. The British took Jamaica from the Spanish in 1655. Africans under the Spanish, mainly from the region of Ghana, Akan-speaking people, took their freedom as a result of this confrontation between these two European parties and became the biggest cohorts of Maroons. And they fought the British. They fought them in the First Maroon War, which ended in 1739 with a peace treaty. And if you read the documents, you will realize, in the words of the British military leaders in Jamaica, that they were unable to defeat the Maroons. They came to that conclusion. And that is the basis for the peace treaty, which then had things in it that became problematic for the Maroons and for the rest of the population of black people in this country. And this war had legendary leaders like Kojo. Kojo was exemplary in his leadership, his strategy, his tactics and strategy. But then the British got what they want because they wanted to build their sugar industry. And Maroons were required to return Africans who ran away from slavery into their space. But then, in 1795, the Second Maroon War began. And this Maroon War just involved one Maroon community, Trelawney Town, Flagstaff, now called. And the things that we eternally need to learn is the saying, united we stand, divided we fall. they were able to fight, that's the British, to fight one group of Maroons, to take them out without involving the rest of Maroons on the side of the Trelawney Maroons. And still, at the end of this Second War, the conclusion of the British military in Jamaica was that they could not defeat this one group of Maroons with about 300 fighters in a community of about 600 people. This war began in 1795 because it was alleged that two young Maroon men or boys were caught stealing pigs, tame pigs. It means that they were not in the wild. And they were arrested, tried, and publicly flogged. And they were ordered to be flogged by an enslaved man in public in Montego Bay. And the Maroons were incensed. These two Maroon men were from Trelawney Town, and the Maroon community was incensed because of one, the public flogging, and two, the fact that they were not handed over to the Maroons as the treaty suggested for the Maroons to deal with that matter. And so it caused a big problem. At the same time, an important player in this war, and whose agency, whose arrogance actually helped to make sure that this war happened, was the Earl of Balcarres. He was a plantation owner. He owned Africans in Jamaica. And he was sent out to become the lieutenant governor or deputy governor of Jamaica. Because, and this is important as well, because the governor, General Williamson, was away in Haiti. Remember, the Haitian Revolution began 1891. 1895, the British invaded Haiti, or Saint-Domingue from Jamaica, in order to restore slavery under British rule. The person who led that intervention or invasion was General Williamson, the governor of Jamaica. And Haiti, and the fear about something happening in Jamaica also became a part of the fear for black people, that they will do what was done in Haiti to white people. And so, this deputy governor, the Earl of Balcarres, actually began to take measures that would ensure that the war, the Second Maroon War, would take place. For one, he demanded that superintendents, that is the part of the Maroon Treaty, there are one or two men there are called superintendent, white men, usually military type, who were required to live in these Maroon settlements. And apparently, in Trelawney Town, the relationship between these two men, James, both of them, John James, father and son, John James, both of them, Captain John James and Major John James. Their relationship with the Maroons was so good that after a while they stopped living in Trelawney Town. And one of the first things that Balcarres did when he came to Jamaica was to restore that thing that got slack. And he dismissed these two men and chose another who was hated by the Maroons. So in relation to the stealing of the pig, allegedly, which happened in July, early July, 1795. Magistrates and planters intervened and what came out of that was that the planters and magistrates in the main wanted to continue to have the good relationship that they had with the Maroons. And therefore they were in between the belligerence and arrogance of the deputy governor and the Maroons. And they had meetings to help to cool down things. And the Maroons were furious. They felt disrespected. They felt ashamed because of the breach of the treaty and because of how these two persons were treated. And they retaliated by driving out of their community that new man that was employed to be the superintendent by Balcarres. And he went to a place fairly nearby, some miles away, not far. And they sent and told him that if you come back up here, we are going to take care of your case. And so he didn't come back. The Maroons, in their meetings with the planters and the magistrates, advanced 3 demands. Demand number 1, to change the law with respect to public flogging. That was their first demand. 2, that the superintendent be formally removed and that Major James the former superintendent be reinstated. And 3, that an additional 300 acres of land should be given to them for cultivation. The planters pretty much supported that position, but not the deputy governor. Who sent a message to the Maroons, as we say to them, if you know what we know, you better come down here. Hand in yourself, give up yourself. Give up yourself. And they were planning to go to Spanish Town from Trelawney Town to speak to the authorities. And the governor gave them a deadline, not theirs, that would make it impossible for them to reach Spanish Town in that period of time. They have to walk from Trelawney Town to Spanish Town. And so that never happened. In the final analysis, what happened was war. And it was suggested that it was the French, remember the French Revolution, or remember Haiti? It was the French who were instigating the Maroons against the British in Jamaica. I'm going to stop here. Safe to say that in the first battle, the Maroons destroyed the British, killing over 30 of them, including the person who led the first charge against them, the leader of that group. Killed over 30 of them. And that they could not see where the shots were coming from. Maroons ambushed them at Old Town and destroyed them. And the report that they made, if you listen to your news properly about the war in Ukraine, we're getting some of those same reports of denial. Oh, we triumphed. And Balcarres on the 25th of August declared that they won. And the war continued into December. Until they came to the conclusion that, look, we need to make peace with these people. And when that peace thing was being attended to, the people were surrounded, put in irons, put on a ship, and sent to, and this is now 1796, and sent to Nova Scotia. Later on, they would reach Sierra Leone. Thank you.
We have a slight change in the order here, or in the presenters rather. So I'll now invite Mr. Ibrahim Fofana to take us to Sierra Leone and give us an idea of how those settlers, those 600 or so, shipped through Nova Scotia to Sierra Leone. How did they fare? What happened? What's the legacy?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ibrahim Fofana, and I'm the cultural attaché in the Sierra Leone Embassy in Washington, D.C. I wasn't really the one who was supposed to do this presentation. I was only informed a few minutes when we came in here that I was going to step into Mr. Kewule Kamara's shoes and talk about living oral tradition in Sierra Leone. So I'm not quite sure when the last speaker mentioned I'm going to talk about the Maroons and how they settled in Sierra Leone. That was not what I was made to understand. However, I will do my best to make a presentation given the circumstances. When we talk about oral tradition, particularly in the context of us African people, we relate to the narration of significant events in history which were not documented in writing, but were kept in the minds and sometimes in the hearts of our people, who relate these stories mainly, the grandmothers telling these stories to their grandkids, maybe in the evening when the weather is good and they're having a good time. So over time, this has become known as oral tradition. What was, documented either in songs or in stories or in similar kind of forms that are related or passed on from one generation to another by words of mouth. And I am sure those of us who studied history and maybe linguistic and other, social sciences would report or relate to the fact that this kind of preservation of history by words of mouth from generation to generation, with time loses most of its validity. Because, as long as there is no reference material to go back to, one of my friends normally say, until the lions have their own historians, tales of hunting will extol the virtues only of the hunters. So, in the same form, in the same way as oral tradition and oral history, as we sometimes call it, as long as there is no reference point that we can go back to cross-check, we find out over time the stories may lose some significant portion. And by the time it gets to maybe to textbooks where, some historians would be writing about similar events, we begin to wonder whether what the white man told us was true or whether what our African brothers wrote were the exact happenings of the event. That notwithstanding, I am sure we all know the history of Sierra Leone and the relationship with Jamaica. From the Maroons, like the last professor mentioned, who went first to Nova Scotia and finally find themselves in Sierra Leone, all by the works of what we begin to call the Babylon, who were our oppressors. And when these people get to Sierra Leone, they mingled with those who were the locals in those communities. And in addition, the abolition exercises brought new other peoples from different parts of Africa to join them. Don't forget, Sierra Leone was at that time the port for the repatriation and the return of free captives and other slave people from other parts of the world. So, in fact, Sierra Leone, even though it was called then the province of freedom. I would refer to it at that time as the repatriation capital of slaves and enslaved people. So when all these different people merged together, what came out then was a culture and a tradition of a new people that we now call the Creoles of Sierra Leone. The Creoles of Sierra Leone, just like the Maroons of Nova Scotia and, of course, Jamaica, I am sure they all had the initial same characteristics of not being able to document their events, their happenings, their occurrences, and their history. So what we find out that we begin to read in history books much later were the reportage of British and American scholars who at that time got most of their information from the colonial operatives who were existing in all of these different parts of the world, particularly in Africa and Freetown. Talking about oral tradition, we should not forget that what are most of these things that our people, our grandmothers would relate to their grandchildren, which would become, the history of our people, were mostly stories about death, about war, funerals, marriages, birth, naming of children, ceremony, and stuff like that. And all of these were new things that were happening, which were not documented and which were reported, in that kind of loose manner, which over time the British and other writers put together in book form and sent back to us in their own interpretation of what they understood from what we were doing. So we cannot, for any reason, believe those stories. Sometimes I tell my friends, we African people and people of African descent have not in any form in the early years, that is like in the maybe 1700s to the 1800s, even to the 1900s, did as much as we should have done. For whatever reason, I wouldn't know. But it is interesting to note that civilization as we know it today started in Africa, in Egypt, and a place in the Middle East called Mesopotamia. If after all of those years, when slavery occurred in Africa, we still would rely on the interpretation and documentation of British slave masters, I think we have missed out for a long time. But thank God, we ended up having historians of our kinds, like my great brother who just spoke, many others across the continent and the world, who have refuted some of these stories that were told about how we lived and how we existed and what we did and what we didn't do. Thank God for that. Now the translation and the interpretation of our history are being more accurately documented by our own people and our own writers. And in that respect, I would say thank God for, education, for development in technology and stuff like that, and particularly nowadays for the advancements we are experiencing in social media. Even if social media existed then, we would not have gone into some of these problems that we experience these days for documentation. Even if we cannot write now, we can record stuff which we can send back and play for our children to listen. So maybe just to conclude, I would say, yes, in the early years, when Sierra Leone was being formed from the province of freedom to the colony up to the period we had independence, or maybe shortly before that, oral history was predominantly the means of communication or of transmitting information. But over time, all of that has changed. Like somebody mentioned yesterday, Sierra Leone was the place where we first had a university in West Africa. So with those advancements, things changed, and Sierra Leone became one of the most important countries in Africa as far as education was concerned. I think I saw even here in this book that we're using as program, or maybe not this one, something about a Sierra Leonean who, okay, not on this, a Sierra Leonean who was from one of these regions and who helped to spread education across Africa and in the Caribbean. These are, I mean, the point that I make earlier to say, when we had a university, we were able to move, even before that time, we were able to move from oral history to documenting our own history by recording and writing these things. So it is very, very good that we're able to move from that point to where we are now. And I think going forward, Sierra Leone and maybe our brothers here in Jamaica would need to come together again and to reconfigure how we move forward in the way we tell our stories that will reflect, I mean, both sides of the aisle. Thank you very much.
All right, good afternoon. Just stepping in for Mr. Miller. We now invite the Maroon matriarch, a.k.a. Mama G. Sims, to the stage.
Yes, give thanks. Good afternoon. All protocol observed. Yes, to all my family from Sierra Leone, blood of my blood and flesh of my flesh. Sierra Leone, I love you. Yes, and to my people here, Jamaican, we give thanks to be here, retracking history, going through, and I give thanks for this day. I know this day was coming. I waited so long to see it. And I give thanks for Professor Hamilton, who was the person that moved this. She's the right person to be in this position. And we know that a lot of work will be done. Now, I'm Gama Mama G. I'm from Trelawney Town, Maroon Town, Flagstaff area. That's where my grandparents are from. My two grandmothers by my father's side, Mattie Carroll and Hilda Meggie. Yes, and also my mother is from that area as well. She's a Campbell. Her father was a Campbell. So I give thanks to be here again saying, what a day, what a day, what a day. It is over 200 years since our ancestors walked this trail to freedom. Trelawney Town Maroon was the first expressive culture going back into Africa out of the Transatlantic slave trade and settled in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, as the name originally mean Lion Mountain, and they were coming from the cockpit area where the LT mountainous region was their refuge and their shelter. So they were happy to be in Sierra Leone with good climate coming out of Nova Scotia where they were sent, and they were very upset about the climate that they sent them in. And so Town Maroon being a negotiator from those days. The most militantest of the Maroons here in Jamaica was the Town Maroon. And they love to negotiate. They love to write letters. I don't know, but they were very good at those things. And they keep writing. They said, no, we're not staying in Canada. It's too cold. They wouldn't go to work. They start to raid places because they couldn't take the winter. And then they brought land in East Preston, which they never stayed. Some stay and some tarry, go into Sierra Leone in the early 1800s. And become a part of Freetown, build a Maroon church because they love spirituality also. So the first thing they do was build a church, which is still there in Sierra Leone today. And the journey, as you see, continues. We give thanks for this contingent that come, the delegation, in this time. 222 years the 30th of September gone, since they left from Canada into Sierra Leone, and 227 years since they left Jamaica. And it is a time of fulfillment, a time to reconnect, a time for us to connect back with our family. And history, you look back in history, but history, you pull from history to move on. So from that history, we know that this, our freedom-fighting family, is back in this time, right after COVID, to give us that inspiration, to give us that strength to move on. We share similar culture, and we share similar situations and issues and problems also. I'm fond of the Maroon Indigenous Women's Circle here, and one of the things we face with here is a lot of violence. And we don't want to go into the negative part of it, but we still have to talk about things like this. And so we're looking, and blessing to my tourist minister that is here, because I'm looking into cultural heritage tourism, which is a healing for our people. And we are, at this point after the pandemic, we realize how broken we are. So we need that healing coming out of Transatlantic experience. Even though we run, but we were traumatized as Maroon with many years of fighting. And this traumatization has never been dealt with. So we're looking at tourism. Tourism is a healing tool. It is something that can address many of the issues we have, along with the environment and the arts and the culture that we have. And that is how we're going to move forward through this established institute here, to heal our people, to heal ourselves in every way. Not just our mental health, which is very bad, but also our economical situation, because if that don't heal, the mental can't heal. We need money. We need to finance. We need to be independent again. And so we're looking to Sierra Leone to hold on with them and the continent, the gateway, as the Rasta would say, reparation and repatriation. Sierra Leone is the gate of repatriation. Anywhere water walk a pumpkin belly, he can walk back there. So we will be going through there into Africa, back home to do our work. From here to there, we will use what our ancestors left to address our situation here, to address the things that will help to hold down development, which is many crime and violence we face in this country, and also to equip ourselves in this century, in this time, in this era, to be a people again. Great people, because we are a great people. People of kings and queens. That's who we are. We are that divine royal people. It's a divinity. Our royalty is divinity. We are who we are. And so it is time to resurrect that once more. And I'm here giving of myself to my ancestor journey, because the 13th clause in the peace treaty said that we were to maintain the trails our ancestors used on the island. But at the time, this trail that leads us off the island into Sierra Leone was not even seen at the time. But that's how law is. Sometimes you overlook the small word that become effective. And so we overlook this international trail which lead us back into Africa. You know? In our community that I was from, there was many Congolese people. Because if you notice, we have a Congo tradition in Trelawny, West End, and we also have one in St. Thomas. There was many Congolese in our town. So it's not just Sierra Leone, we have the Congolese. In the area that I was born in, Wakesfield, Trelawny, coming out of the back road of Old Trelawny town, coming down into Trelawny itself, you had a village named Congo Town used to be there. And that was where many of the ancestors who was not taken into Nova Scotia become part of the community there, because it was an African community at the time. It's a community adjacent to Sherwood Content, where Bolt is from, you know. And I know in Trelawny we still use the word bolt. If you are moving very fast, we say, "Me see a bolt." And so many of the ancestors got their name from their characteristics. So we know, when I went back in Wakefield and I traced, I heard that Bolt father was from up in that area. So we know that Bolt run with that passion because he's one of those Maroon that take the flight. You understand? And we live by the characteristic and his name by the characteristic. So give thanks this morning to have me. And I give thanks, all protocol was observed, but I pay my respect to our Minister of Culture, Minister Babs Grange, who just walked in. Blessings. Thanks.
That was Mama G. Powerful, very powerful Mama G. Maroon woman. Thank you, Mama G. At this point, our Minister of Culture, Gender, she has so many: entertainment, sport, goodwill. The people's minister, my minister, Oliver Grange.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I must tell you, I feel like a sprinter today. I've been sprinting from Conference Center, where we have over 1,000 young people from sixth form through tertiary at our Jamaica Creative Expo. What we have done, we've brought in specialists and masters from overseas who have Jamaican roots, and we have also used some Jamaicans who are locally based, and they are conducting master classes and telling their stories to all these young people who are saying, you don't have to be a lawyer, doctor, Indian chief, but you can be involved in the creative sector and have a career. And then I left there and I went up to the AC Hotel and launched a publication put out by the Campari Group on the history of the Upperton Estate. And that links right back to our African heritage. And I actually said to them that some of the workers who were on the estate would have been brought to Jamaica, trafficked to Jamaica as enslaved Africans. And there's a story about the Zong arrival
while they were on their way to Jamaica, they threw overboard 122 enslaved Africans. And 10 enslaved Africans actually jumped overboard because they couldn't handle what was going on. And on December the 28th every year, we commemorate that very awful experience of our ancestors. So, and then here I am, looking at my sister from Sierra Leone. And just again, even connecting, even in a stronger way, with our African connection. I want to acknowledge Honorable Dr. Memunatu Pratt, Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs of Sierra Leone. My sister, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Honorary Consul for Sierra Leone in Jamaica. And I must acknowledge the minister's delegation. Too large for me to name. But we're happy to have them here. And of course, the newly appointed Executive Director of the Institute of Jamaica, Mr. Leslie Harrow. Welcome on board. And of course, my historian, my musicologist, my everything, Herbie Miller. I know the staff here at the Institute of Jamaica know that he's special to me. Right, Herbie? Look at him blushing. Other distinguished members of the delegation from Sierra Leone, other distinguished members of the team from Jamaica. Is Big Youth here? Not yet. Professor Clinton Hutton? Where's Professor Clinton? Ah, there you are. Very good. And member of the National Council of Reparations. Anyone here? And of course, I have to big up Mama G. I see some other familiar faces, but it will be longer than my presentation. So I was trying to big up my brothers and sisters. So allow me to express the great pleasure I'm feeling as I welcome to Jamaica and the Institute of Jamaica, our family from the great African country of Sierra Leone. Let me say to you, Honorable Minister, and the rest of your team, I know you have been here and you've been enjoying Jamaica, but I don't know if words can express how much we welcome your presence. Minister, that is what we say to family, even if we have not seen them before or for many years. We're just one family and we connect when we see you. So this is your home, away from home, where many members of our family came through forcible removal and forced transportation. This is the place where many members of our family suffered untold wrongs and inhumane treatments in the name of chattel slavery and colonialism. But thank God, today, we the survivors are here to welcome you and to reconnect our original links and strengthen familial bonds as we together determine to forge deeper ties in advancement of the mission of our two countries. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador, because that's Ambassador, right? Because he highlighted a very important point to me, which I didn't think about in the way he had positioned it. As we talk about the African continent, we must also talk about the African diaspora, which is a huge diaspora and which we can also directly relate. So today is a special day because here the minister is with us during Reggae Month, and being hosted by the Jamaica Music Museum in recognition of the role played by music in the thrust for mental freedom and the rekindling of old spirits. We all know that reggae music has been our people's effort to reestablish the old linkages and celebrate the dignity and integrity of our people. From Bob Marley's Redemption Song, to Dennis Brown's Revolution, to Ken Booth's Freedom Street, to so many other expositions of our music, our artists have engaged our African identity as part of the effort to sustain the dreams of our ancestors of a future reconnection of our hearts. It has been the music with its metaphor of Babylon that has sustained the creative imagination of our artists. We have stepped, as the saying goes, Minister, we have stepped out of Babylon. We have cried down Babylon, declared that Babylon must fall. For us in the music, Minister, Babylon was, as in the biblical song of the exiles of Psalm 137, the seat of the enslavement of our people that had to be toppled for the freeing of our people. It was our national hero and foremost Pan-Africanist, the right excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, who reminded us that though they free the body, none but ourselves can. So the freeing of the mind has been at the heart of reggae music and the Jamaican culture. Artists like Malika Kappa Reynolds, folk art such as John Canoe, were among the embodiment of resistance that have forged this unique natural mystic of a space we call Jamaica. Reggae music is among the most dynamic creations of African descendant people. We are at the center of brand Jamaica, and we have brought the world together in so many instances with our music. It is the music of solidarity with the oppressed, of motivation for those who may need to get up, stand up for their rights, of a balm in Gilead for those whose current situation seems insurmountable, by recovering the reality of the Buffalo Soldiers. Who remember that song? Buffalo Soldiers, let me hear you. Yes? Good. So, by recovering the reality of the Buffalo Soldiers who were stolen from Africa, fighting on arrival, fighting for survival, we have indeed survived. Indeed, the music is the armory of the survivors. It was the music through Rastafari, a new religion which we gave the world, that carried the theme of Africa at the centrality of Jamaican culture. So today, I feel particularly grateful to see the people of Jamaica, our brothers and sisters here in Jamaica, and our brothers and sisters of Sierra Leone come together in one critical space, the Jamaica Music Museum. Not just to sing and dance together, because we sing and dance because it is in the music and the dance that the demons are exorcised and minds of our people become unfettered from the chains of colonialism and the racial overtones that came with it. Today, as our people come together and eat together, we recall that image captured in Marley's No Woman, No Cry. I remember when we used to sit in a government yard in Trenchtown, the western end of Kingston, where I was born and raised. Georgie would keep the firelight. You know the song? keep the fire light as log wood burning through the night. And we would, of which I'll share with you. My feet, only carriage, and I'm gonna push on through. No woman, no cry. Yes. I know the Institute of Jamaica will invite Madam Minister, invite you to the kind of Jamaican feast that will reflect the joy of a time when men would share cornmeal porridge. I know Herbie don't have no cornmeal porridge here today, but you probably should have organized some. If not, the coconut water, right? And a little rum. And there would be no war among us. Today, it is my hope that the coming together of both our countries within the framework of our shared music and dance will inaugurate a formidable process of return and repair of hope rather than despair. A new beginning forged through old familial ties and the rekindling of fires of solidarity, of peace, of love, of justice, and of unity. Because where there is no love or justice, there will be no war. Again, it is my pleasure. I said, where there is love or justice, there will be no war. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome you, Minister Pratt. We look forward to coming to Sierra Leone. Who wants to go? Let me see the hands. To reconnect with our ancestors who were able to return, even if it was through Nova Scotia. We have a fantastic history. Nova Scotia. And the interesting thing is, we are involved in winter sports. We play ice hockey because of Nova Scotia. So there is much for Jamaica and Sierra Leone to do together, and it takes on a grander scale as of today. It is my hope that the Jamaica Music Museum will initiate a dialogue that will lead to greater and deeper cooperation between it and a similar music museum in Sierra Leone, Madam Minister. It is also my hope that the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, with its new director, Dr. Henry, you here? Dr. Henry is not here today, but we have a new director at the African Caribbean Institute. And it is my hope that the ACIJ, with its new director fashioned out of the revival table of our heritage, because he's a revivalist. We don't discriminate. He's a practicing revivalist. Recently got his PhD, coming from the bowels of the inner city. And today he will head an important entity that will preserve and promote our African heritage. So we must all leave here today with the flames of freedom and reconnection burning in our breasts, even as we continue to reignite a nation for greatness. May God bless the people of Jamaica and Sierra Leone. One love, one heart. Blessings all. Thank you.
Our dynamic, hard-working Minister of Culture, Oliver Babsy Grange. Thank you. Let me also take this opportunity now to acknowledge the presence of Roberta Brown Ellis, representing the Canadian Embassy. Are you still here? Okay, good. Hmm? Okay, she must have left again. Okay, thank you, Minister Grange. And I was not blushing, it was just I. We're gonna skip the recording of Diamond City and go straight to MDG for his performance. Step forward, sir. MDG performer. And this is a dynamic performer from Sierra Leone. I looked at his video recently as he performed in duet with his own video. And I've not seen that prior, where the artist is performing with his or own video. Okay, as they cue up the song, you know, it's modern times now. You perform to tracks and so on and so forth. We have already put on notice the designer and her flock of beautiful models to display and their wares, their fashion. In the meantime, I'm going to ask the mystic revelation of Rastafari to come forward. Mystic revelation of Rastafari. And horns. Y'all get them for me out there, the drummers. Get the horn players for me as well. And what this is not a performance, but you're going to be privy to a sound check. But we're just going to do it publicly. And then we'll clear the stage so the models can use it to show off their beautiful dresses. Get the horn players for me, please. The horn players. Okay, Mr. Engineer, are you ready? Okay, go ahead and let's get a sound check. Just be mindful that this is just a sound check, this one song, so the sound engineers can catch the level. No, ready. We're going. Generally,
True. True. Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you very much for a phenomenal, deep-seated thinking about what our people went through. I think we're going to make it light now to entertain you all. We have a fashion designer from Sierra Leone, She's also a chef, by the way. I'm going to read a small bio about her. Nima Tulai, meaning a gift from God, is a Sierra Leonean fashion designer committed to bringing the beauty and diversity of West Africa to the world. From hosting clients in her home for fittings to touring her fashion and runways across the country. She's done it all. At the core of RNL's global style is a desire to make space for each person to feel beautiful in their bodies, because self-love is always on strand. The clothing, flowing, fabulous, and elegant. Words of perfectly describe RNL originals. You will know Nima's designs by their signature silhouette, which emphasizes the curves of its wearer, creating an air of maturity and refinement. Beautiful West African patterns spill across the body, drawing inquisitive eyes, making it clear your look is a statement. Ladies and gentlemen, I present RNL Associates, Mr. DJ, or Miss DJ.
Sorry about that, I took her up down to the beach yesterday and I ran into lady. I asked her name and she told me Maria, she looking for money. I wanted to flex but my trousers don't carry no pockets and full ball. I told her if only the money can wait till a heart I can bring joy. She said she want me, but she can't risk it. She said to ride in the train I would need to buy me a ticket. I say she wanna feel it, but she will not touch it. She wanna wine and dine, but I will need to buy me a ticket. I say, oh no, no, the baby not touch and go. Oh no, no, the bobo, the lost and fufo. Oh no, no, the baby not touch and go. Oh no, no, the bobo, the lost and fufo. The next day I saw Maria laying there by the side of the dumpster. I asked her what happened, she said she got into a car with a gangster. She looks so disheveled, eyes were black, I told her to come to my place. I got some medicine I can cook and then I can fix up your face. She said she want me, but she can't risk it. She said to ride in the train I would need to buy me a ticket. I say she wanna feel it, but she will not touch it. She wanna wine and dine, but I would need to buy me a ticket. You don't feel me? If you don't feel me, make I know. Now the way you kiss me, slow down, no. Daily man, you don't play me like
agba. If you not able, pull hand. Yeah, now for pull hand. If you not able, pull hand. Yeah, now for pull hand. If you not able, pull hand. Yeah, now for pull hand. If you not able, pull hand. Okay, no we go. Now for pull hand. This game not so fet on a family property. Small nyash de shake up, it de shake bang na all party. Me swag na D and G, you so dog and goat. You swag na mumu, look you swag just a storm a goat. All time you de chill with them big boys, you don't balance with them small boys. The time you go crash with the big boys, now the time we go push
power, Papa got him power. Me and no go suffer. Me I go make it dollar, make American dollar. Me I go buy it cash. Me I go give my mama. My body go pass. Me I no want to no sanka sanka. Shoot and go, sanka sanka. Shoot and go. Me I no want to no sanka sanka. Shoot and go, sanka sanka. Shoot and go. They make a country, but then they test my ball again. But then they test my ball again. Oh me, they know how I make a be who I wanna be. This is all about me. Oh me, them fuck up. Tell them to make them shut up. I love the power they say man stuck up. Got them no know what's up, 'cause they love what you get from the temp and cock up. Make them go down on their knees and suck up. Jig your band up, pull me like and lock up. Break it, they put the thing on butter. Me I don't want to know sanka sanka. Shoot and go, sanka sanka. Shoot and go, sanka sanka.
Enemies and tire. They want to play me, yeah. They want to play me. They want to play me. They want to play me.
It's time to party. How you go come and sit down? Not tell me that what they not lie. It's time to party. How you go come and sit down? People not talk that what they not lie. My life, oh, Sabo, hello, hello. Everybody dancing.
True.
All side show, my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the designer herself, Miss Nima Tulai.
Girl, I love you booty bouncing. You body dope. When you come to party, when your body burns somebody, forgetting all your wahala, yeah, singing my head. When you come to party, show them your sexy body, forgetting all your dilemma, yeah, singing my head. Oh, my head, oh, Sabo, hello, hello. Everybody dancing, all side show, my head.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Omu, DJ Omu.
Girl, I love you booty bouncing, you body dope. Side enjoyment, stay a day day. They no go able pull me there. Usai the girl then they a day day. They no go able pull me there. Or if they say then go do Nadombolo. They no go able pull me there. Or if they say then go do Nadombolo. They no go able pull me there. Hey, when you come to party.
Thank you very much, Mr. DJ. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Miss Nimatu Light de Grazia of I&L Associates.
Good evening. Thank you guys so much for having us tonight. We're truly excited to be here with our family, whether you're Jamaican or Sierra Leonean. I want to say thank you. Good evening. I have wonderful honorable minister and our high commissioner. Thank you guys for making this possible. Dr. Rosalie, thank you for making this possible, and everyone involved. Today, I'm standing on this stage to tell you a little bit about these wonderful pieces that we have. I remember growing up in Sierra Leone, all we knew was jeans and t-shirts and nice, colorful clothes. But today, fast forward to this wonderful world that we're in, I can tell you every Friday in Sierra Leone, or even during the week, it is like a competition now on who wears the best African clothing, right? we're embracing our culture, which is very important. And I have a little story to tell. When I was growing up, my dad told me I wanted education. I wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor. And my dad said, you can be whatever you want to be. But before you move to the United States, you either learn how to sew, cook, or do something. I said, me? Sew? I'm better than that. It's a lie. This job is very serious to me. It pays my bill in the United States. It's giving hope back to my people in Sierra Leone for them to understand that no matter where you are, we can shine. These pieces have been seen in New York Fashion Week, Milan Fashion Week, a girl from Sierra Leone. In this world that we are in now, think about it. We have DJ Umu. I said when I retire, I want to be a DJ and I want to buy me a motorcycle. Here I am. Cozy just made it possible. I said we have a female DJ in Sierra Leone. No job is too big or too small. Look at these beautiful women. They're models. These are not downgraded jobs. We need to encourage our people to do these things. Be an entrepreneur. I started my business with $300. You can buy this fabric for $300 and fill a suitcase and start sewing. Make a change in the world and be the change that you want to see in the world. I appreciate you guys so much. Follow us on social media, Instagram. It's RNL, R as in Raymond, N as in Nancy, L as in London. And we truly, truly appreciate you. Honorable Minister Memunatu Pratt, thank you for being awesome. Thank you for making room for us women. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you, Cozy.
Ladies and gentlemen, before Jamila leaves the stage, we want to recognize Jamila. She's been awesome. She's part of the Dream Team and she's done a remarkable job. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to, on behalf of my ambassador and our minister, I want to recognize, of course, she spoke earlier, the Minister of Gender, Entertainment, and Culture. We had a meeting with her yesterday, and what she said, my ministry is the ministry, anything that they tired with, they send it to my ministry. But I'm here to say to you, Madam, I was here that Mr. Miller hosted a groundation event last Sunday. Somebody said something here. So you know something? Jamaica is known in the world because of its musicians and culture. So, Madam Minister, you will not know less a minister. So we want to thank you so much.
Right. Very true. Give thanks for picking up both ministers of culture, both of them, woman or women. And if you look at what's happening now, the power lies with you. We just behave like it's us men. Okay, so now it's to the music. And it is so wonderful to see Jamelia up here with Mystic Revelation of Rastafari. Jamelia, take a bow. And of course, lead percussionist Time. He continues in the tradition of his great father, the Count Ozzy. And in the spirit of those drum and horn groups out of Africa that was so frightening to the planters, Count Ozzy carried forward that mission. It is now in the hands of a younger generation, still being mentored by time, Count's son, that this tradition continues. So, I'll just give the technicians a chance to finish what they're doing. But for those of you who don't know, Count Ozzy is from St. Thomas, where Kumina reigns, where Howell emerged out of, the first Rastaman, and where on his commune in St. Catherine, Howell gave freedom to borough drummers. Count left East Kingston regularly to go into West Kingston, where borough drummers were, down in St. Catherine as well. And he learned from a man called Brother Job. And with what he did, he transformed borough into Nyabingi music. Because prior to that, what Rastafarians did was play basically the same instruments, the banjo, the rumba box, etc., that Mento musicians played. Count ordered a set of drums, the funde, the repeater, and the bass drum. Today, it stands as the symbol of Rastafari music. Ladies and gentlemen, the mystic revelation of Rastafari. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Do we feel the spirit of our ancestors in this room? I have a special brethren that came along with me, and he's asking to do a one piece. So be oblige all musicians. So my brother, it is your turn. Go ahead. I'll accompany you. Yeah. Aye. Yeah. You hearing the guitar? Yeah, we not hear it neither. In the speaker, I hear it right here, but not in the speakers. All right, here we go. Bushi Kunde. We're not going to explain, but it speaks of the one who resisted, you know? We are Bushi Kunde.
Liberation, Bushikunde. We are Bushikunde. Liberation, Bushikunde. Bushikunde is my Africa. They must say we are diaspora. Bushikunde scattered all over. Carried beyond the seas of the Americas. Bushikunde, oh. Bushikunde, Bushikunde. Liberation, Bushikunde. Suriname, 5 Nation, Bushikunde. Jamaica, Leeward, Windward, Bushikunde. Trinidad, Mary King, Bushikunde. Belize, Garafuna, Bushikunde. South Carolina, Gully Gooche, Bushikunde. Canada, Nova Scotia, Bushikunde. Listen up. Bushikunde in Sierra Leone. Trans-deported found his way back home. Bushikunde, oh. Bushikunde, Bushikunde. Liberation, Bushikunde. Bushikunde, man, woman, and child. Bushikunde knows how to survive. Bushikunde, a top ranker. Surviving mountain, river, and swamp. We are Bushikunde. Liberation, Bushikunde. Bushikunde. Oh. Bushikunde. Liberation, Bushikunde. Honorable every time. We documenting the journey through sound and song. Anna.
And when John was worried that there weren't anyone worthy enough to open the book and reveal the 7 seals thereof, a voice shouted from the heavens saying, "Fret not, for the kings of kings and the lords of lords is here. Conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God and the light of this earth." So, yes, I know him, that God and the terrible among them, the elect of light.
Mystic. Let's give it up for Mystic, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mystic and our dear sister Jamila, for such a beautiful performance. Let's give it up for them, please. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Now we're going to call on our minister, our director of tourism, to give us closing remarks and say thanks. Mr. Mohammed Jallo. Let's give it up for Mr. Mohammed Jallo, please.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a blessing to be here. I believe our forefathers will be very, very happy to see us reunited. Today is a wonderful day. This initiative is a great, great initiative that we should push. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Institute of Jamaica, of course, Mr. Miller, and of course to thank the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sports. She has been very, very, very generous. She has been very kind to us. She has given us all kinds of platforms that we cannot imagine. Today, we want to thank the people of Kingston for the outstanding hospitality that they are giving us. It is memorable. It is something we will not forget. I will take this back to Freetown. I also want to thank our participants, our guests that are here today. You guys have been great. It is wonderful. We have a productive, but also a touching event today that we should be able to transform to ensure that it's productive. What has happened in the past. But the most important thing right now is the future. We should ensure the perpetrators fail. And they can only fail by us being reunited. And that is the way forward. I want to take the opportunity to thank our High Commissioner for this wonderful, wonderful initiative. This is a brilliant initiative. I also want to thank the Minister of Tourism. This woman that you see, she recently won the Best Minister of Tourism in West Africa. She won the Best Minister in Sierra Leone. She is the chairperson of the Women in Tourism Leadership Committee for the United Nations World Tourism Organization. She has transformed in the very shortest possible time the face of the industry in Sierra Leone. I also want to thank our Consular General, Mr. Hamilton, for being here with us. He has been very supportive. We also have our people who have accompanied us, Madam Judy, and of course, Dr. Kai and others. But I also want to take a special thanks to my sister, the general manager, very hardworking. She is the one implementing the marketing and promotion for the Sierra Leone. Mr. Kosi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for putting this together. Mr. Fofana, and of course, our fashion, our sister, our chef, our fashionist, Nimatulai. She has provided us with a very, very delicious dinner yesterday. We appreciate it very much. Thank you all. I hope I have not left anyone out, but I appreciate you all. Thank you for coming. Our Sierra Leone community in Jamaica, thank you so much for your support. Thank you. We look forward to a very fruitful collaboration. This is time for action, and it should happen right now. Thank you to our
musicians, thank you for everything. We appreciate Jamaica. We've learned so much from Jamaica, and we are going to take this back home. We are going to ensure we use music and entertainment as a product. And of course, the most important is our newly appointed Consular of Sierra Leone to Jamaica, Professor Hamilton. Thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much. We want to apologize. We were supposed to have Big Youth on the program. Now we're going to call Miss Nicole Patrick to give acknowledgements for us.